That's what you're seeing with the WikiLeaks. They shake hands, they smile, and they stand up, and they do all these photo opportunities, while the real scene is there are just a bunch of losers from different countries getting together to destroy their own countries and give all the money to their rich friends.
The government has a reverse Midas touch.
Yes, they do.
Well, let's shift over to the geoeconomic conditions. You know, a French newspaper carried an interview with a former prime minister who says that the EU is on the brink of collapse. Now, that's no news to many of us following these stories, but we're starting to see more protests, strikes. Over the past few weeks, the U.S. dollar has resuscitated somewhat as the euro crashes even further. Are you concerned about these sovereign debt fears in Ireland, Spain, and spreading around?
Oh, of course. We've been writing about them in the Trends Journal, for several months. There's no end in sight. We are on the verge of a global financial crisis. We're right at the edge. They're going to go off it at some point. They can't keep saving it by printing more money and bailing out their buddies. The bondholders can't get a haircut. That white shoe boy language. Yeah, they can't get losses, but the taxpayers have to cover their bad bets. So what we're seeing by the demonstrations that you're seeing, remember my saying, I said this was going to happen. When people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And you're going to start seeing more and more people lose it. And you know where you should start looking? Start looking at the youth. Here are these kids. You have in Spain, for example, about 40% of these kids, 18 to 25 or thereabouts, 40% unemployed. Think about it. Raging with testosterone, no jobs, educations, deep in debt, going nowhere, and smart enough to see what's going on. You think they're angry?
They're not the only ones angry. Let's turn the focus here onto the domestic economy. According to the BLS, I know you know the numbers, U3 number hovering around 9.5% for an awfully long time. U6, 17%. That's bad enough, but according to Shadow Stats, the real unemployment rate just hit a new all-time high on that chart, 23%. And it doesn't sound like a V or U-shaped recovery to me. I don't know, more like a Great Depression. We are literally on a race downward to those unemployment levels. Do you expect to see, the next big issue maybe on the plate here for politicians, rioting from low-income workers reminiscent of Europe?
Absolutely. You're going to start seeing it from everybody. And then not only in Ireland, it's happening in Italy, it's happening in England, it's happening in France. Remember when the French were rioting about demonstrating about increasing the retirement age? The young people took to the streets. And that's what you're going to start seeing because they have nothing. They are frustrated.
But Gerald, I think people forget just how bad that rioting in Paris and some of these outlier cities became. I mean, you'll recall seeing hundreds of cars ablaze week after week. We're not talking peaceful protests here with people waving flags and whatnot. I mean, we're talking some seriously upset people.
Exactly. If you had everything stolen from you and taken and your taxes increased, you lose your house, you're losing your job, and they're taking what little you have left, putting value-added taxes on so they could give it to the white shoe boy criminals, the banksters, wouldn't you be angry? I'm angry, and so are many. And we're going to start seeing this really start to escalate. And by the way, it all goes back to the WikiLeaks. Why are they so upset? Because you can look at their failures. Let's go back to the royal Bush that just came out from hiding and see what he said, Chris, about the economic crisis. Quote, he was blindsided. You mean all those guys, all those brilliant people were blindsided? Then let me get this straight. They were blindsided, right, or they were lying. Because then what they did, these blindsided people, they pushed top down our throat. And then they keep shoving stimulus. Hey, you want to talk about brilliant? Remember the brilliant Larry Summers? You can never say his name without putting brilliant before, during, or after his name. Where did he go? Oh, he brilliantly jumped the economic ship, the Obama rat, another one over the edge, along with Christina Roma, along with Erzag, along with Rahm Emanuel. This thing is going down. Look what happened. People talking about their elections in November, historic elections. They're not historic. It was the Bananos taking over for the Gambinos, the Republicans, the Democrats. And now they're worried. Will there be gridlock? Oh, God, I hope not. What would happen? You mean if we couldn't put those brilliant minds together to come up with a solution? The big news wasn't the election. That was a farce. It was just a change of clothes. The big news is what happened the day after.
I guess we owe a hat tip at least to them for those quantitative easing or QE, whatever you want to call them, machinations, because as a result, inflation is a major problem, and that has gold and silver, at least in the past few months, on a spectacular rally. Silver ran 18 to 29, caught many investors off guard. In response, the CME raised margin maintenance requirements for silver by nearly 50%, and then again another 12% to $7,250 per contract. And they raised gold maintenance just a bit. This sounds like more manipulation to me. What do you think?
Well, of course it's manipulation, but also, in fairness, they have to keep raising the fee as the price keeps. But, 50, 70% is an awful lot. But let's go back and look at what happened on November 3rd. Where did gold prices go? They went from $13.54, I believe, to the hitting a high of, $14.24 before backing off? So, no, this is just the beginning. And to us, look what oil prices are doing, gasoline price. As everybody knows out there that follows these things, it's not only inflationary, it's a devaluation of the currency. The currency is being devalued in front of our eyes. So, for example, in Zimbabwe, a price of coffee may only cost, $1.50, but the Zimbabwean isn't worth any money. And that's what's going to happen in the U.S., a devaluation of the dollar. It's not as though there's going to be such strong supply and demand for so many of these commodities. It's going to take more cheap dollars to buy them. They're robbing us blind. This is the biggest bank robbery in world history, and the banks are doing the robbing. They rob you on your credit cards. They rob you with your ATM costs. They rob you if you don't use your debit card. They rob you if you use it too much. They rob you with fees, hidden fees, changing games. It's the biggest bank robbery in world history, and it's worldwide. Banks are robbing the people. Hey, you want to know a good business to get in? The guillotine.
As we sort of wind down our discussion here, Gerald, I wonder if you would like to share your personal portfolio to help folks get an idea of where you're parking your funds. Are you still heavily weighted in precious metals and some foreign currencies?
That's it. Gold, silver. I'm late on silver. I've been big on gold. I began buying gold heavily since 2001 when we called the bottom in the Trends Journal. It's right there for everyone to see on our website, trendsjournal.com. I was a late buyer into silver, but I'm in gold, silver, Canadian dollars, and Swiss francs. And the Canadian dollar is a hedge against the U.S. dollar, and to me, as I've said, the Swiss, they're not going anywhere.
I know folks are going to want to find out more about the Trends Research Institute, as well as your Trends Journal and everything else that's going on over there. So why don't you help folks direct their web browsers, please?
Trends Journal, that's plural, Trends, trendsjournal.com. And Chris, we also know people are going through difficult times, and we try to make the Trends Journal available to everyone. So if you can't afford the full price, we suggest that you go to the discount request page, fill it out. It's all confidential, no really detailed information. Just tell us your situation, and we'll do our best to provide it to you at a price you can afford. And also, what we really want to make clear is we're going into the economic winter like we've never seen before. The European crisis, the currency crisis, a trade war is building. People better prepare for the worst.
Well, sir, can't thank you enough, especially on this holiday week.
Hey, thank you, and happy holidays.